Hi folks, I'm looking at a building that is regularly being described as ugly in the letters page of the local paper and on talkback radio. So I asked the question, is this building ugly? What is an ugly building? Here are my thoughts. The building in question is the Marine Board building in Sulivan's Cove, Hobart, Australia. It is a 1960s building that replaced earlier sandstone buildings. Constructed from concrete column and cantilevered floor slab with precast curtain wall cladding, it is typical of building methods of the time. It is 10 stories tall and totally freestanding. Two things make this building more of a target than others. Its location in the middle of the cove with a vibrant community chock-a-block full of activity, and being freestanding with all elevations visible rather than only one. I assume that the building owners and the very lucky office workers love this building for those very reasons. Now I suspect that it's the unlucky people who don't work in the building who think it's ugly. So firstly, what is ugly? Vitruvius, the Roman writer on building, believed that the three most important elements were solidity, usefulness and beauty. The building is clearly very solid. It is also very useful, due in part to its prime location. But is it beautiful? I would not call it an ugly building, but clearly it is no work of art. Is there such a thing as an ugly building? Say for instance we had a street with a single building and we all agreed that this was a beautiful building. So we built another 50 just like it down the rest of the street. Surely we would have a street full of beautiful buildings. No, I think not. We would have a street full of very ordinary buildings, as there would be nothing to compare them to, nothing standing out. But if these buildings were also functional and solid, what would it matter anyway? If it does commit a design crime, it is that at street level, to the person on their way to work, it goes largely unnoticed. It says nothing. A comparison with the silos apartments further around the cove is useful. Both buildings are on the cove edge and both are multi-storied. Now I think this building is a definite potential to be described as ugly. But then again, the redevelopment turned a redundant structure into a useful and functional building. Thus I could not logically call it ugly, as it performs its purpose well and the occupants love living in it. Another possible crime of this building is that it sits outside what town planners have described as the Cove Wall. Sullivan's Cove was settled around a natural harbour and 2 or 3 storey warehouses were built around the edge. On the northern edge, Hunter Island was reclaimed and 3 storey warehouses were built along it. The Bond Store and Commissariat building, originally with foreshore in front, formed the rear edge. The private secretary's cottage, which sits on the only remaining part of foreshore escarpment, demonstrates the original edge to the cove. Later Victorian buildings continue the wall past Waterman's Dock, and well-known Salamanca Place warehouses and ordnance stores form another. The Marine Board building sits in front of this accepted edge, thus in the planner's mind commits a crime. So ugly? I think not. Ordinary perhaps, out of place perhaps. Beauty or ugly is only a matter of opinion and a subjective measure, but every building has a story to tell and this one is no different. And so our story finishes here. But no! The building has been thrust into a new controversy with the installation of wind turbines on its roof. To some these are ugly machines put on an ugly building. To others these are dangerous and likely to fall and kill people. To others they are a necessary sign of our times, a constant reminder of global warming. Some see them as a thing of beauty merely because they create renewable energy, their function trumping their aesthetic. When we live in a place, I think we tend to assume a certain amount of ownership for those public spaces, and that ownership is quite often expressed in the opinion of whether something is ugly or whether it is beautiful. In this case, people are expressing that the Marine Board building is an ugly building. But I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think the Marine Board building is an ugly building? Post a comment below. Now that's all for this video. If you could subscribe, that'll be great. Click the thumbs up button, tell a friend, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks with another video.